Are we ready? Are we ready? This morning I've prepared a message. I guess even calling it a message is probably not the correct title as well, because I just want to share more like testimony. Hence why sat down vibes changes the tone, doesn't it? But for those of us that we want the message, brother, my title that I'll talk under today is Help, Healing, and Breakthrough. Now, I say all those three things because, and I'm sure in some measure, most of us in this room have experienced one, two, or all three of those things as we've walked and journeyed with God. I guess, not to put them in a box, but, to give a degree of distinction between the three things. Help. Who's ever received God's help before, And often help comes when we're in our troubles. So it's not that God, in this thing of help, saves us from them, but while we are in them, divine strength comes, divine wisdom comes, strategy comes, that help we need in our time of need. He helps us. And often those events in our lives are what grow us and cause us to trust on God for provision, for, or whatever we need. It's like, God, I need your help right now. Healing, when God heals us, and whether that's physically, like in our body, like there's a physical condition, or how many of you know we often have things that need healing that you can't see on the outside, and the hurts and the wounds and the pains that we carry. And so we have a God who heals us from the events and the traumas and the troubles that we've been through. So helps us in, heals us from, and I guess those emphasize what he's like doing in you. But then we also have the God of the breakthrough, and the God who wants to deliver us from, save us from what needs to change in Jesus' name. So the mountain we've been, trying to climb, but it really needs moving. The seas that need parting, that impossible situation, that relational difficulty, whatever it is, and God breaks through, and we're then like, hallelujah, this thing has been lifted, this thing has changed. And so that's where I'm going today. While I want to talk over these past 3 years, how God has helped me, how God has healed me, and very recently, so just last month, how I've had a breakthrough that I have been praying and fasting for in this season, and breakthroughs come. So I want to share on that. Before I go too much into it, I want to say the reason why we've created this little bit of space is because I'm believing that we're going to have a breakthrough moment in 25 minutes from now as I stop talking and as we start responding to God, and we just come to the altar and say, God, I need you in this area. I need you. I think so often as Christians we struggle with things, and God's like, come to me, lay your burdens down. I can heal you, I can help you, I can deliver you. I am the God of the breakthrough. So I say that now so that you know where we're going, because I'm believing in what area you need a breakthrough or help or healing, that you'd be prompted by God and that you would respond to God. Again, just laying the foundation of this, I guess all throughout biblical history, God would reveal his names. He's got many names. Now, he doesn't reveal his names because he's like, look how awesome I am, and got this list of amazing names. Every time he revealed a new name, it was to reveal his nature. So perhaps a familiar one to most of us in this room is Jehovah Jireh. It's where to Abraham he revealed himself as Jehovah Jireh, I am the God who provides. So we learn something new about our great and awesome God by how he revealed himself by name and what he did under that name. You are my provider. One that's perhaps less familiar as that, but I'm sure some people in the room will still know it, is Bel Parazim, which means the God of the breakthrough, the God who breaks through. So that's revealed in 2 Samuel 5. And it's when David is just anointed as king, and all the other kings and kingdoms are like, right, let's set out to find him and let's put an end to David and his new reign. And so David is facing impossible situation, but it's there that God revealed himself as the God of the breakthrough and brought about a great breakthrough in David's life. So that's what I want to talk about and share. So let's go into, what is it? What is this breakthrough that I've had? To give context to the breakthrough so you understand in terms of gosh, there is power in the name of Jesus. I have to go back to, and I hate it when we even say these words, but I have to go back to 2020. Can I hear a groan from everyone? I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been traumatized from the events of 2020. And again, even though I'm the one with the microphone today, and I'm the one sharing, I understand I'm not the only one, whether it's from 2020 or other events of life, that has had to work through things, has had to sometimes even tarry with God, why haven't you healed me from this yet? But he's growing us, he's causing us to rely on him, but thank God when a day of breakthrough comes. And I'm believing we're in the day of breakthrough, people. We're in the day of breakthrough. And so 2020. So to give context, let's go back to 2019, actually. That's the year that, as a church, we signed a new 10-year lease for this building. We had saved over the 3 years prior £150,000. That was our goal, to do all the building work changes so we could make that new coffee bar area, so we could change all that porch and stairwell coming upstairs so we were allowed more numbers up here for fire regulations. We remodeled the Live Link room and the 2s to 4s room, making them both bigger to accommodate our growing family. And so over 2019, for those of you that were with us in the life of our church, we were in faith to be breaking consistently on a Sunday the 200 number. There was a couple of Sundays where we got over that number. Most we weren't quite there, but that was the goal. And it wasn't numbers for numbers' sake, but it was all that in the way of it demonstrating, God, you're saving souls, you're making disciples, you're equipping your church for greater works of service. And so, I guess in a sense, let's say we're in a good place as a church and what God had done at that time. So we've been here 16 years now. Then it's 13 years we'd been here in Newcastle since the church started. And actually the crescendo of 2019, and when all the building works, most of them were completed, with that Christmas carol service night on December 2019. So we're actually legally allowed in this room 300 people. And we've only done it once. I wouldn't recommend doing it again. I'd say this room comfortably holds 200 people, at a push 250. But because we had about 25 brass band players, they were all on the stage, it allowed us to go up to the max of our fire regs of 300. We had it as a ticketed event. It was a free event, but ticketed it because we didn't want to go over that 300 number. And so what an end to 2019 and that momentum we had as a church and what God was doing. But then 2020 came. And so for me, the way 2020 started to the way 2020 ended, it was dramatic. And again, I'm sure for some of you that's the case as well. But for me, and obviously what I'm sharing here, we ended 2020 with losing our senior pastors. So our church, back then, we were one church in 12 locations. Both me and Rachel had been part of our church since our youth. I got saved age 15. I think you were in the church from age 14. And so the only pastors I'd ever had in my life, for then that would have been 22 years, we lost them in our life. So our senior leaders are no longer in my life. At the same time, we lost our associate pastors here locally in Newcastle. We lost, with our leadership team, we roughly had like 30 or so leaders. These were the people that ran our teams, ran our small groups, ran our ministry departments. We probably lost like 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of our leaders. And then as a congregation, like I'm saying, we're there in faith that we would break that 200 mark by January 2021, when we resumed services. There's like 20 people. And so, I say that as a snapshot. There's obviously, more to it, but in time here, because I want to get to the breakthrough part. Obviously, you can imagine just that sense of dreams shattered, disappointments. I think the biggest thing, and it probably took me the whole of 2020, and then still into 22, and then even now, maybe even for more, like just getting over mourning the loss of people in my life that I really, really love, but now they're no longer in my world. And to add to that, which again will lead to the breakthrough, a big part of that was actually how offended people were with me. And so we came, to Newcastle called by God with that sense of love God, love people, build the church. And when you find yourself as the person who is seemingly, the person who has through even though your best efforts through a very challenging time on planet Earth of trying to lead people through it, keep the family together, calm people down, but the criticism and the accusation and all that was wrong, whether that was with our senior leaders, our church, myself as a leader locally, it just resulted in us losing so many people and people being so upset with how I had led, how decisions I had made, how we had, tried to lead through that time. So I was completely shattered. I was completely broken. I was lost in a sense. Not lost like, God's good, you're saved, but it's like I'd never had to manage that level of pain and suffering and personal attack before. And so if I were to actually put it in these words, and this is strong that I'm going to say, in 2021, I didn't even want to live. Now, let me differentiate, not to distance myself from it. I wasn't suicidal. Thank God that wasn't my battle. And like I say, I'm not differentiating to remove myself from that, because some people might be here today that suffer with thoughts of suicide. I'm just saying it wasn't my battle. For me, what it was that the pain of going on, it was like, I don't know how I overcome this. So I would just rather, God, you take me now. Because that path to healing just seemed insurmountable. And, but obviously God is the God who helps. He is the God who heals. And so obviously holding his hand and lovingly walking forward with him, he was helping me. He was healing me. So at the same time as suffering like this great loss and pain, and again, hold my hands up, self-inflicted, because people are actually upset with me and how we led. At the same time, and this is probably why it got such a grip on me that I didn't realize, is because I'm so heartbroken and trying to deal with just surviving, you know. And maybe me sharing this comes as a shock to some of you because, yes, we always still turned up to church to love, to serve, to give, to not burden others with what we were personally going through, and appropriately sharing it, though, to those over us who were praying and talking it through with us and offering counsel. But what I probably didn't realize until, let's say, last year was how fearful I'd become. Because everything that was safe in my world, all those relationships, you know, leaders over me, co-workers alongside me, that sense of emerging like energy and talent and exciting relationships rising up under us, and the church at large, which we love and serve, it's like it just all felt gone. Now, it wasn't all gone because there was faithful people that remained. But that overwhelming, it's like a hole I was falling in. And I didn't realize at the time that even if, you know, it's like that, I'm carrying on, good Christian soldier, let's believe again, God will do his thing again, and he'll heal me and he'll help me. But all the time was this growing fear of, what's the point? Because what happens if the same thing just happens again 5 years down the line? And it's like I've been plagued with fear constantly. Like it's like that, a door in my mind and in my heart where the enemy could so easily just get in. Like I'd even go as far as saying it's like a stronghold developed in my mind of just like irrational thinking, irrational fears. And I would wake up middle of the night having just whether dreamt or about it, or woke up and immediately there in my brain, just like going back to, you know, where we were under attack and criticism and accusation and the enemy getting in there as well and making it all 10 times worse than it needed to be. And just that trying to, you know, seeking God, praying to God, guarding my heart and my mind, but almost like this fear just always there. And I'd almost said there'd never been a day, up till a month ago, never been a day where there wasn't at least one completely sinking moment in my soul of where I'd just be like, just sink in trauma, in depression, in fear, in you know, on one hand, you go from one moment of you're in faith and you're imagining all that God can do, but in the next moment, it's like so easily just like, I just crumble. And I knew I wasn't well. I knew, hang on a second, there's something going on here that is, it's beyond my ability to get out of this funk, this groove on my own. And I remember saying in July this year to Steve Warren, and obviously he's our overseer. He's over in C3 Imagine, which is in Amsterdam. He oversees C3 Europe. And I remember in July, and this has been, you know, a conversation ongoing, I remember saying to him, it's like, these words came out of my mouth. I says, I actually just feel like I am haunted by the past. It's like literally, like, you know, demonic oppression, just not letting me break free from all that guilt I felt, shame I felt, abandonment, you know, whatever you want to put. It was like, I can't, like, we're not there now. It's actually 3 years on, but yet it's as if it's now. When this tidal wave creeps over me. So I said that to him. And anyway, so bringing it up to speed. So that's context. We're at the C3 Europe conference just last month in October. And one of the guest speakers, John Pierce, he's more than a guest speaker. He's the chair of, like, you know, all the senior leadership board that runs the C3 movement. And before his message, which actually was all about bringing back the altar, and, you know, and how much, so much of churches had lost the altar throughout COVID because, we weren't allowed to go near each other. We weren't allowed to touch each other. We weren't allowed to, like even that praying for someone, behind a mask. And it's like that. Come on, our churches need breakthrough. We need what only God can do. But before he even began preaching, he just really felt led to, he said, he had a word. He just says, there's someone here, or it might be a few. And it's like over 2020 when COVID came, it's like a fear came upon you and it's never left you. And straight away, I'm there like, this is me. This is me. And so I turned to Rachel straight away as he's still talking, going, as soon as he gives the response, I'm there, And listen, I've always been like this. If God is speaking to me, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to get my breakthrough. And I think perhaps some of us today, you need to respond. Maybe you've been holding back over recent years because you're just worried about what other people think. And no, if you need a breakthrough and God is knocking on your heart, you go for that breakthrough. So anyway, he says, come forward. I'm like middle of maybe there's about 300 people there. I'm like kind of middle, so it's like not even easy. You know how sometimes like it's so easy to think, oh, it's like I'll have to upset 15 people by treading on their toes to get down this aisle. And, I'm like, God knows where I am. I'll just stay. I'm like, no, I'm going for it. I trod on all their toes. I got down to the front. I stand center stage because I'm like, this is my moment. And what I'm trying to describe to you is I'd had enough. And I knew I'd got to a place of, I've had enough. This is something that counseling won't shift. It's something that my own devotional life, while it is God is helping me, I need a breakthrough moment. I need something only God can do. This is my moment. And I go forward in faith. And as soon as he began to pray, I just crumple like to my knees. And I just start going, God, I need your help. I need your help. I need your help. And then anyway, he's praying for someone else. And then he comes over to me and like pats me on my shoulder and says, stand up. Could I stand up? Could I heck? I'm like, like just trying to, but it was almost like, I wouldn't describe it as, I'm not drunk in the spirit. It's more just this heaviness of what I've been facing. I'm feeling the full force of it upon me because the enemy does not want me to get my breakthrough. So like I'm like trying to stand, and really in the end he just held me, and John Pearson just held me up, and I'm just there like my face on his shoulder. As soon as I came back, I said to Rachel, I think I snotted all over his denim jacket, and so I'm just there as he's praying for me, and I'm like And I've just been going like, help me, God, help me, God, help me, God. And then literally, as I knew in a moment, and I love the way God does this, as I knew in a moment, like something's lifted, like a gasp, like, and almost like as my brain, so let's just call that like, I don't know, my intelligence, whatever, has registered, something has just supernaturally been broken off of me. Like as that's happening in, nanoseconds. And like I say, I'm like on his shoulder. So I'm hearing his voice and prayer, not from his mouth, because actually his head's there. So I'm hearing it from the speakers. As I hear him say, that's it, it's gone, was the very moment where like, I knew something had lifted, and I was like, I can stand on my own accord now. And he's just like, that's it, you're free. And then he went on to pray for someone else. I'm just left there at the altar call like, what? This is amazing, right? Got my breakthrough. Now, let me go on to say, because again, I'm leading to, yes, I'm giving you testimony. This isn't really about like what I've been through or what I've experienced. I want to lead to a moment of response and breakthrough for people who are here and know you need God's help. You need his healing. You need a breakthrough, whatever it is in. Why would we not approach a loving Father when we are prompted by the Holy Spirit that this is our moment of deliverance? And so before we lead to a moment, just to share and quickly, thank you, Janelle, is I would often, what I'm sharing, with it being so recent, like a month ago, I would so often wisdom would be share this in 6 months to a year, when you know. But I've not only felt the permission from God, but even the active encouragement from God. No, you've been chasing this breakthrough for 3 whole years. You've been in a season of prayer and fasting. I am the God who has broken through for you. You need to share this now because there are many people in this church that need the same kind of breakthrough. And it's been like night and day for me. I've literally gone from, hit my funny bone then. I've literally gone, my reflexes are good, from there's not been a single day in almost 3 years that I haven't been tormented, terrorized, tortured. Sometimes, some days, several moments throughout the day, gone in an instant. Gone in an instant. It's like, let's be real. I've obviously still going to have things to process and do, but the battle has been won. So now all the things that I was trying to do of, guarding your heart and mind and it's like, now this is easy to do. And so I share it also because while I was at the altar, and so again, in that moment where, it's amazing what God can download in an instant. And so in that moment as well of knowing this is gone, I was like I'm free. I also knew instantly, and I've been here before. I've had this exact moment before. So let me very quickly, just using only 5 more minutes. I was saved at 15, and at the age 16, I've had that same moment before, probably even delivered from the same spirit of fear. So as a child, my dad will know the age, is probably better than me, but I'm guessing I was around 9 or 10. My mom became a childminder. And so she childminded two kids. And one of them, the first one, was called Sam. Now, I don't know whether it was 2.5 years or 3 years that we had Sam. So maybe now I'm like 11 or 12. And I remember the day where our parents sat us down, me, my brother, my sister, and they to share news that my mom had just been diagnosed with MS. And so she was no longer going to be able to childmind because, she physically couldn't do it anymore. I remember running to my bedroom, crying my eyes out. And in reality, I've said this to my dad as well, reality, like in the way your 11 or 12-year-old brain processes stuff, I wasn't crying, sounds so bad this, I wasn't crying that my mom's just told me she's ill. I was crying that this boy called Sam, who was in my life, was now no longer going to be in my life. And roll on, I get saved at 15. I think this was when I was 16. I'm in a church service, and it was John Burns. Some of you might know John and Helen Burns. They have like a TV ministry, do a lot about relationships and that. And they're talking about the Father heart of God. There is a point in me sharing this, and my dad's going to laugh at it, is they're talking about the Father heart of God. And essentially, his altar call moment was, those of you who haven't had a father, or you haven't had a good father, I want you to come to the altar call today because God is going to heal you of that. Now, I'm sat there as a 16-year-old, my parents in the same congregation with me, right? But God's saying to me, Simon, this is your moment of breakthrough. And it was like a revelation of, it's not because I had a bad dad, I'm very good parents. It was, I had become scared that I would be a bad dad. Because something of losing this child when I'm only 11 or 12, something had latched onto me, making me fear that one day I would be a bad dad. And so I share that to say, so this is how much, if you need to respond to something now or anytime, you go for it. You don't worry. I'm going forward thinking, my dad is going to think, what on earth is Simon going like? He's going to have everyone in the congregation look at him and thinking, what has he done? But God's bigger than that, right? You know, and our relationship's bigger than that. I come forward because I realized I'm scared, and I got delivered in an instant. Fear off. The same thing happened a month ago. I don't have the language or the theology or even the understanding to describe how and why both of those times a fear got on me, but it was something I couldn't shake in my own power. And I needed the God of the breakthrough. The God of the breakthrough is here today. I don't know what you need. Perhaps some of you, it is fear. Fear of never having enough provision. Fear of never finding someone to marry. Fear, I mentioned it then, fear of failing at being a parent. Maybe it isn't fear. I don't want, because I've shared in fear, for that to lock in what this moment is. Maybe, like for me and Rachel, a breakthrough we want. God, would you save our kids? We've got 3 teenage kids that have all chosen over this 3-year period to not come to church. Maybe the breakthrough you need is relationally. Like maybe you, like me, feel like you've suffered great loss and your heart, it's like your heart is still hurting from that because you want reconciliation. Maybe your breakthrough is physical. You need healing in your body, in your mind, in your soul. You can respond to anything. All I ask, and the culture I want to create in this house, is that when God is moving, we say, yes, Lord.